So today I'm unbeaten on the ladder, having played against several Boros decks with creatures that definitely don't get as much credit as they deserve. Hey everyone, Hex here, and today I'm taking down Boros and other token builds with my Rat Warleader deck that is currently unbeaten on the ladder. Firstly though, I want to massively thank everyone for their support for this channel. We just hit 3,000 subscribers, which is incredible, and I'm so very grateful for that. If you are new around here, please consider subscribing below as we continue to grow. So onto this deck, and once again I want to shout out the cool combo between Warleader's Call and Song of Totentanz. Warleaders is a card that pretty much synergizes with every card in our deck today, but drop a hefty Song of Totentanz late in the game after a sunfall for almost triple the damage it would normally do. Your opponents won't expect it, and your opponents will be very happy to never see a rat again. Speaking of rats though, we have a lot. We'll start with Lord Skitter for those graveyard decks, Tangled Colony, which will have to be blocked at some point if all things go to plan, and you will get a ridiculous amount of damage through from Warleader's Call when this little critter dies. And we've got Harried Spearguard. This card was a Luminarch veteran for the longest time in testing, but we just don't need life gain when we win before they get to us, and you will see how well this creature pairs with one of our other removals a bit later on. Lord Skitter's Butcher and Redcap Gutter-Dweller help with our Rat and Warleader synergy too, with Twisted Sewer Witch as an alternative late game win con. Anim, Pakal and Imodane's Recruiter round off our creatures with Warleader synergies, and we all know how good these cards are, and we've got some interaction in Rite of Oblivion and Case of the Gateway Express. Let me just take this moment though to highlight Rite of Oblivion. We have a lot of tokens and the Harried Spearguard to sacrifice to exile a target permanent, and this card is what sets us apart from similar Boros human builds. We get access to a clean way to nab our opponent's Warleader's Call or ossifications. I'd say this one card won me most of my trickiest matchups on my current run. Today I've also got 24 lands, and that's the deck. So you may want to add some caverns or courtyards to your mana base, or one of several other cards if you want some more life gain or removal, but I just don't think it needs it, and until I lose a game I'm sticking my neck out and saying that this is a great deck for the meta. I strongly believe we have the edge in other aggro matchups, but I will let you decide on that one. As always though, I really want to hear your thoughts on Rat aggro in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you again in the next video. Alright then, on the play here, and hand is a relatively okay hand, but we have 3 drops available, no 2 drops or 1 drop, so hopefully we are still in the game by the time we get to turn 3, but if we do, our hand is absolutely ridiculous to be honest. So Anim, Pakal, a great little addition to our deck I think, as it works nicely with the Warleader's Call, but also works nicely with our technique of just hitting a tackle. Opponent with Assemble the Players and a Boros deck again. We'll play our Butcher here. We'll make a 1/1 critter, and then we can start getting in there next turn with this and Anim, Pakal on the battlefield maybe. Opponent with a Baird. Okay. And we find a Lord Skitter Sewer King. So in testing of this deck earlier, I played against 2 graveyard decks, and Lord Skitter made our opponent scoop the moment it hit the battlefield, which was kind of hilarious. I guess it's a card that no graveyard deck wants to see, but it's a really cool little synergy to have in your deck, especially against the graveyard decks, which I do feel sometimes pose a little bit of a problem when we don't have too much interaction with graveyards or counter magic. But opponent gets the Warleader's cooldown. That works pretty nicely with Baird, as they're going to make a soldier, a 2/2 soldier in the end step, and ping us with the call. So I do want to deal with Baird if I can. So thinking through the turn here, I think the best thing to do is just attack with everything. They're surely going to block one of the Gnomes with the 2/2. And we can Rite of Oblivion the Warleader's Call up there. That's going to turn off Baird. It's also going to kill their 2/1. And then we have Rite of Oblivion next turn to deal with the Baird if we need to. But opponent's down to 10. So yeah, Rite of Oblivion here. The card that I am very impressed with in our deck. I think it sets us apart from opponents token builds. They just passed the turn with a Vampire and a Veteran. A Veteran, another card that you could pop in this deck. It was in my original plans, but I removed it for the Harried Spearguard instead, and I'm pretty happy with that. Doesn't mean too many games where my life's gone too low, but we'll drop a rat here with Song of Totentanz because we have another one next turn, and this gets to put a load of damage onto our opponent. We get to solve our case, and they have to pretty much chump here. They go down to 5, we solve our case, and surely we've got a lethal attack next turn. And opponent has a Sunfall in their creature token deck. Okay, kind of surprised me, but we have lethal here with Song of Totentanz. So this is just exactly why I love this card. It gets kind of round the Sunfall. I was a little bit surprised about the board wipe there from our opponent. Alright, on the draw. This is another pretty okay hand. Always seem to have the Spearguard in our hand. We have a tap land, so maybe something to look at after I've played these games. See if we can almost guarantee the Spearguard a turn 1 play instead. But Spearguard and Rite of Oblivion, 3 different colour mana pips we want early on. So not too fussed really. And also this Spearguard works great with Rite of Oblivion here because opponent played Anim Pakal here. We can just if we want to, just Rite of Oblivion the Anim Pakal, sacrificing our Spearguard and making a rat in the process. But don't have to do that right now. We'll drop our Butcher here, make another rat. Our opponents are going to get sick of the sight of rats, it seems. Queen Alanhall, okay. Alright, fun little deck they've got. The 2 cards on the battlefield for our opponent kind of synergize nicely. We're definitely going to want to disrupt that synergy, and I think the best way to disrupt it is to get rid of the Queen Alanhall. I think making double tokens is something I really don't want to see. So we'll play our Case of the Gateway Express, and yeah, we'll drop this one, and we can attack with our Lord Skitter's Butcher here. I highly doubt it. We'll Rite of Oblivion second main here, clean up the board a little bit, but what this is also doing is it's showing the opponent that we have a Rite of Oblivion in our graveyard, so they may be reluctant to drop anything particularly good. Sacrificing the Spearguard there, excellent value play for us as we just replace it with a rat. And opponent with a Wedding Announcement, okay. And Imodane's Recruiter for us. Alright, so I think what we'll do is we can set ourselves up for next turn. We'll attack with the team first. This will solve our Case of the Gateway Express. Opponent goes down to 13. We'll play Train Troops, make a couple of 2/2s. They become 3/2s. Then next turn we can Tangled Colony and Imodane's Recruiter for potentially lethal. Another Queen Alanhall for our opponent. Guess they're going to get a bit of value here as they make a couple of tokens, but let's just go for the high value play for us by dropping the Colony here, and we'll drop our Recruiter. Haven't seen any removal from them, so they might have some, but this is going to be a massive attack here, and no matter how they block, they're going to lose a large, in fact they're probably going to lose their whole board here, especially if they block like this, like with Queen Alanhall, because when we start killing their tokens, it's going to drop the toughness of their 4/4. Nah. They see the writing on the wall anyway and scoop it up. Alright, on the play. Hand looks absolutely fine. We will keep this one. And fortunately we have a tap land. But that is fine, as we don't actually have a 2-mana play anyway. Opponent with a Sundown Pass as well, so hopefully we're up against Boros. I actually like playing against Boros. I feel we have a almost superior sort of token build, albeit they have a lot of synergies with some white cards that we're not playing, but Warleader's Call is pretty nice here. Question is, do we attack with the Spear Guard as well? I think I'm going to. Opponent is going to have to chump if they don't want to go down to 17. And they do. Okay, so they're already trying to preserve their life total a little bit. Borrowed time, eh? On the Warleader's call, I presume. Okay, that is a pretty nice answer to that card. So we can go the Gutter-Dweller here or Lord Skitter's Butcher. Neither have haste, so we'll get in there with the 1-1, and I think we'll just go for the Gutter-Dweller here as it makes a couple of rats. That would have been so nice if the Warleader's call was still on the battlefield at our end. Opponent with a Lunart Veteran. And Warleader's call. Okay, this is a very common card today, it seems. Do we want to sacrifice a creature? Yeah, why not? We're looking for a Rite of Oblivion to deal with their borrowed time. But Anim Pakal is perfectly acceptable here, and we'll get in there with our 4-4. This is going to... I guess we can attack with the 1-1 as well. Leave the Spear Guard back, because they're always going to block one of our creatures, so we might as well do it like this. They block the creature that can't block, fair enough. But they go down to 13, and we're just going to make some serious gnomes now with our Anim Pakal. And ossification, okay. They take the 4-4, kind of surprises me. And they have a wedding announcement, fair enough. Okay, wedding announcement, a little bit annoying against us. Rite of Oblivion, hey. Okay, so we can write the ossification, borrow time, their Warleader's call, or even the wedding announcement if we want to. Let's go for the Butcher here. Let's make a 1-1. I think what I'm going to do is use this token with Rite of Oblivion to get rid of their borrowed time, to get my Warleader's call back. Because when we attack with the team here, our Anim Pakal gets above 5 toughness, basically 4 toughness, so they can't be killed, plus Warleader's call triggers there, so opponent down to 12. We could have Rite of Oblivion quite a few of their cards, to be honest, but they just accept defeat and, yeah, no blocks. Alright then, on the play, and we don't actually have white mana here, so although we can get a Tangled Colony on turn 2, the rest of their hand's not good. This one is a little bit better, slightly, so we'll keep it. I really don't want to go down to 5 cards anyway. So hopefully we get to resolve the Warleader's call, and we'll put the Imodane's Recruiter to the bottom of the deck. We need that later in the game, not early on. Opponent with a Mountain as we find a Rite of Oblivion. Alright, so we've got some decent removal on our hand, but all our hopes lie with this Tangled Colony, the 3-2 that doesn't block. Opponent looks like they are on Boros, okay. And a Charming Scoundrel makes them a treasure. They just passed the turn. They did not attack. So we will attack ourselves with the Warleader's call on the battlefield. They go down to 16. So if they shoot the colony here with like a lightning strike or a helix, the Warleader's call and the colony actually work quite well just to ping our opponents. But this time, nope, they do not attack with the Scoundrel, so it looks like they're going to block here. Okay, well, let's just drop the other Warleader's call. We're setting ourselves up for some very powerful spells later on in the game, as a lot of our creatures create creatures as ATB. Plus we have the Rite of Oblivions in our hand to deal with maybe the opposing Warleader's call. I do like playing against Boros decks. Every time I make a deck, it seems to be the deck that's always in my mind. Opponent with 2 Warleader's call. We have 2 Warleader's call. But we have a creature on the battlefield. Yeah, and when this dies, we're going to make 5 rats. Gleeful Demolition is pretty nice, though, as they do 6 damage to us and have 3 3/3s on the battlefield. So the Recruiter, not our best draw. We do have Rite of Oblivion here to get rid of the Warleader's call. I think I'm just going to go to attacks first, see what they want to do. See if we can drop them down to 5. They don't know what's in our hand. Okay, I'll take the block. I'll definitely take a double block. I mean, this is a lot of damage here. I no idea what their life total is going to be after we machine gun them down to 3. Yeah, I'm just going to go for the recruiter, take them down to 1, and hand the game over to our opponent. Can you do 13 damage to us this turn? I'm sure they can. It's a scallywag. We go down to 11. Is that it? Is there a recruiter? Voldar and Epicure? No, it's Godric, and they take damage and they die. I can't believe we won that one like that. Alright, on the play. And hand looks fine. A few rats. A few top-end cards. So we will see what we're up against here. It is an island for our opponent, so we will play our most mana-efficient play in our Tangled Colony. Opponent with a second island. Are we up against mono blue? Alright, well let's go for the Spear Guard, as this has haste. Normally I like to play my spells second main against mono blue. Alright, they have a Serum Snare, but we'll get in there. If we can just swamp the board with rats, we should be okay. So this is the exact reason why you could argue the case of putting a Cavern of Souls in this deck, and I think I might do in a future iteration, but it doesn't work too well with some of our early plays like Case of the Gateway Express or Rite of Oblivion. But if opponent's just going to counter everything we do, then you could definitely argue that case. They do not counter our rat though. They play Experimental Augury, which makes me think I could have played Lord Skitter's Butcher there instead. But I'm fine with the Tangled Colony. Opponent with 4th island and no creature. Alright, well, Song of Totentanz might be a good way to see out the game later on. So gonna just attack our opponent here. And let's go for our Butcher now. And it is Devious Cover Up to counter that card. But yeah, they need to deal with our creatures on our board here. And Jingataxias, and they tap themselves out. Okay. So we get a chance to resolve a spell. We didn't find a land, but we'll drop Imodane's Recruiter here. Make our Tangled Colony a 4-2, and we'll attack with this. They can't really block. They do block. Have they not read our card? Because I prefer to have the 5 rats here than the one creature we did have. So we look like we're going just wide. We could gateway here the Jingataxias, see what they want to do. See if this is countered. It is countered, but yeah, this is all part of our game plan here. Just smashing as much as we can, and let's go for Song now. Make it just 1 rat here, because we can just keep going wide, getting around their 1 creature. They need like a mass bounce spell here, because I don't really know how they're going to get out of this. Serum Snare, fair enough. But the opponent's down to 8. We have 6 creatures on the battlefield. The Spear Guard will make a rat when it dies. Eiganjo, I'm just going to play it as a land, you know. Let's drop this Twisted Sewer Witch. This is pretty much lethal if this resolves. So they look like they're going to have to counter this one. They do. Essence Capture puts a 1-1 on Jingataxias. Could have held the Eiganjo back to deal with Jingataxias if we feel like we're under too much pressure, but we're really not. Opponent's down to 3. We have 5 creatures on the board now. Flow of Knowledge, drawing a whole lot of stuff. I don't know what they can do here. They need a couple of bounce spells. Yeah, they need 2 bounce spells. Okay, well that's got to be lethal. We just channel our Sokenzan here, and this puts 2 more creatures on the battlefield with haste, and we can just attack our opponent for lethal. So yeah, that was a really good win actually against Mono Blue. Alright, on the play. Load of 3 drops. I don't really like keeping these hands, but I think our 3 drops look so good here that it's not the end of the world if the opponent puts a few creatures onto the battlefield in the meantime. It's a Lantern Bearer, and we find another Warleader's cool. Okay. Fair enough. They drop another island, so could be mono blue, but I'm not sure what we're up against with the Lantern Bearers. Might be some kind of brew. Let's drop a Warleader's Call while they're relatively tapped out, as this is a card I definitely want on the battlefield. Okay, they are Simic with the Lone Speaker. We'll play... Oh, we can't play the Gutter-Dweller. We don't actually have double red here. Alright, well, Lord Skitter is going to make its arrival to the battlefield. Do some damage to our opponent, but we do have a 4-4 now. Fortunately, the bearers are flyers. And Vesuvan Duplimancy, hey? Okay. They are definitely up to some combo shenanigans. In fact, haven't played against Vesuvan Diplomancy for a while, and I seem to have played against it a lot this weekend. So I definitely want to kill the Lone Speaker this turn. Lord Skitter will make a rat. I've done that completely in the wrong order. Yeah, I was meant to make a rat first, attack our opponent, and then use the gateway second main. I'm not sure what I was thinking of there. I was thinking too far ahead, so forgive me for that, but this Lone Speaker should definitely be dead here. Attack our opponent, though, and it's quite a hefty attack still. But yeah, loose play there. I was thinking too far ahead of my turn. Alright, opponent, what can you do? They've definitely got something going on here. C-double to copy our Lord Skitter. Are they like a Doppelgang deck? Like the ultimate Doppelgang with Duplimancies? Maybe they are. If anyone actually knows, if you can let me know in the comments, because this deck looks pretty interesting. We'll just keep getting in there with our creatures here. Nothing too combo-y about our game plan here. We're just going to keep smashing, playing our creatures, smashing, playing our creatures. So opponent down to 5. We're going to solve our case here if we attack with all 3, which we do. They're going to have to chump. And they're going to take some damage here. Down to 2. And we have lethal next turn with our Recruiter in our hand. Even if they find a way to deal with every creature on the board. But yeah, their deck looks very interesting here. I do like a Duplimancy deck. They're definitely Doppelgang. They just never found it. And yeah, we can just decline this, play our Recruiter here, or our Dweller. But Recruiter has more of an upside, I think, with our attack this turn. And this should be enough to just ping the opponent for the last remaining points of damage. Alright, some loose plays, but we get the win still. Alright, on the play. And this is a fine hand. Some rats and some lands, which is always good. And our Tangled Colony, a 2-drop, so we'll play the Sanctum here tapped. Opponent with a Shipwreck Marsh. Okay, well, go Tangled Colony. So I'm not a fan of creatures that can't block. Rats generally can't block, so this deck is all about how much damage can we do to our opponents as quick as possible before they get to us. They took care of our creature there, but we have a Lord Skitter's Butcher here, and I'm just going to make a 1-1. So a couple of little critters on the battlefield for our opponent to deal with, and Drowning Ichor deals with Butcher. So looks like we're up against a kind of Dimir Toxic control deck, but we'll just keep playing our cards. Another Butcher here. Could give our Rat Menace if we wanted to, but let's just swamp the board with rats. We'll play the Spear Guard and get in there. Hopefully they block. Oh, they don't block. You could have argued the case to hold the Spear Guard back, as it blocks the Skull Dweller quite nicely. Especially if they deal with our Butcher, which they do, with Anoint. They get in there for our first poison damage. But yeah, let's just go for Imodane's Recruiter here. Make some 2/2s. Could have shot the Skull Dweller and then played the Recruiter as a creature. Opponent has been in the tank for a long time on this turn. They either do not like our play here, or they have disconnected. I'm going to hold the Spear Guard back just for one turn to block the Skull Dweller if it attacks us. Don't really want to get 2/3 poison. Opponent definitely looks like they've disconnected here. So we'll just run through their timers, and hopefully we can just take this game. Let's play our Gateway Express first. See if this is countered. No, they have definitely disconnected. I've played against a couple of opponents who appear to be disconnected, and you kind of play some loose plays and then suddenly they're back online, but the opponent is dead.